Okay, next let's talk about the LFO. The LFO is very similar to the Prophet 6, except for it has some different functionality as we explored. But let's go through it just to outline it. With the LFO, you have two ways to activate it. You can either use the mod wheel, or you can use the initial amount, which just allows you to decide how much modulation is occurring at one time, irrespective of the mod wheel. Let's demonstrate this. Let's set the LFO to affect the frequency of oscillator 1. Our initial amount's at 0 and our mod wheel's at 0, so nothing, but or we could just have it on. Right now we're modulating it with a sine wave. Let's modulate both of them so we can hear some of the wave shapes. Of course, we can control the frequency with the frequency knob. And the frequency goes up into the audio range, so you can use it as a distortion source. Because right now it is, let's turn it all the way up. So we've retained our pitch because the frequency is moving back and forth at such a rate, an audio rate, that we actually hold on to what the pitch is. So you can get some interesting distortion effects. That's like distorting it with noise, which we'll talk about. Random's so much fun when it goes to pitch. So there we're getting the luscious sound of the two Oberheim oscillators as modified by the LFO with the various different types, the sine, the sawtooth, the reverse sawtooth, and the square, and the random. Of course, we can modulate a variety of things other than just the oscillators. You saw me in the last video demonstrate the pulse width modulation. So if you have your oscillator set to square, there's a cool sound, pulse width modulation, as modified by the sample and hold sounding random function of the LFO. We can also choose to modulate oscillator 2. Or we can modulate oscillator 1 and 2 at the same time and do something fun like set the pulse width slightly different to get a wider, richer modulation. It gets interesting when we move into the audio range for the LFO. And all we're doing is modulating pulse width there, which is really interesting. Of course, we could add the VCO and VCO1 and VCO2. fun using the square wave there as a rhythmic element. Okay, and of course random. Ooh, we went down to 0 pulse width there for a second. But you can mix and match, you know, obviously you can have one of your oscillators on sawtooth and then one of your oscillators on square, and, you know, just modulate one of them at a time. You have that option. We can also modulate the amplitude of the sound. And some of these effects can be really effective when you're syncing them to what you have arpeggiated or sequenced to by using the LFO sync, which then when you adjust after pressing LFO sync, when you adjust the frequency, it adjusts it to various note lengths. So when you're doing something like this, that can be helpful as far as creating an interesting sound. Okay, and we also have the ability to use the LFO, of course, to modulate the filter frequency. Who doesn't love sample and hold on the filter? So let's try some other settings like notch. A little more subtle, but still nice. With that Oberheim filter, it really stands out. That's really cool. It's kind of like its own composition. I can't get enough of it. Here we are between notch and high pass, and it's creating some really interesting effects. That's just beautiful. And of course you could do some more traditional like sine wave. Interesting. Really beautiful sounds and possibilities with modulating the filter frequency with LFO.